Welcome to another edition of Crossbody Corrections. My name is Evan,
I am Javier.
and it is your favorite hosts from Crossbody of Work, here to correct historical mistakes from history of wrestling because we want to think that we can do better than the actual booking. And this week, it's tricky. We don't think we know better than the late, great Bray Wyatt in terms of the
No.
Fiend as a character. But I think Javier and I both have some ideas on how to better present the Fiend in terms of his use in WWE. So we're not saying we can do better than Bray Wyatt, but we are saying we can do better than Vince McMahon.
That's for damn sure.
On this little series that we have, we just go back and we pick on other things in wrestling history that have happened, and we just say how we would book them better. We've covered the Nexus, we've covered some other things. You can go back and see all the different ones that are in the playlist and see who had the better rebooking. We're just trying to throw out some ideas. It's like a writer's room in here. We're spitballing. Hey, here's some better ideas.
Some things stick, some things don't.
Sometimes we rebook the whole fucking show. Sometimes we just tweak a couple things.
Yeah.
And this week is no exception. Javier has a big rebooking.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a little one, but we're going to make some changes to the Fiend. Let's talk about the Fiend. What do you think of when you think of the Fiend, Bray Wyatt?
The incredible debut. Just
Incredible
how
debut.
freaking jarring it was to see that and everything that associated with it. Some really cool moments throughout his tenure as that character. I thought the look was always great. The presentation was hit or miss on occasions, kind of depending on who he was wrestling.
Yep.
And ultimately, it just got literally burned to ashes. So
literally set on fire. The Fiend character, for those of you who are unaware, you should just go watch. I'm sure there's some supercuts of Fiend moments and Firefly Funhouse.
They did.
Things.
They dropped one a while back. It was just 2 hours on YouTube.
Great. What a great time to go back and watch it. So the Fiend, it was Bray Wyatt with an alter ego. So he still had himself. He was like a Mr. Rogers-esque cartoon host. He hosted a little kids show called the Firefly Funhouse.
You're our friend.
And I was wondering if you can do the whole thing. And he would have this alter ego known as the Fiend. Had a wonderful debut against Finn Balor. Did not realize that he very quickly went into his feud with Seth Rollins over the Universal Championship. Won the Universal Championship in a terrible fucking time. It just was not good. None of it was good.
None of it was good.
He had some feuds with The Miz. He had a feud with Daniel Bryan. Then he lost the title to Goldberg. Then the pièce de résistance, he had the Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena at WrestleMania 36, and it was glorious. It was wonderful.
It was great.
It was perfect.
Loved it.
He would win the Universal title again from Braun Strowman. He would lose it to a returning Roman Reigns. That was cool. That was a very cool time. Then he had a whole thing with Alexa Bliss, who was Sister Abigail, maybe, but not really, but kind of. And then he would, as you said earlier, get lit on fire. He was a crispy man and then had a WrestleMania match against Randy Orton where Alexa Bliss turned on him.
What is it? Witches be crazy.
Witches get stitches. So there was always some good. The thing I love about Bray Wyatt, wrestling is an art form that lends itself to lore. Lore is cool. Don't forget stuff. It's like how I love Kevin Owens because he remembers shit. Like, don't forget things because it builds your character over a number of years. It's one of the only continuous narratives in the history of sport and entertainment. And Bray Wyatt was really good at remembering things and building levels into his character. Like all the different puppets were different members of, his psyche. There was Waylon the Buzzard, which was Waylon Mercy. There was Husky the Pig Boy, which was him as Husky Harris. Like there was a devil Vince McMahon, which is somehow nicer than the real Vince McMahon.
Shit.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to rebook how the Fiend would be used in WWE. Javier, you asked to go first before we started recording this. I cede the floor.
My first note is that nothing changes through SummerSlam.
So through the Finn Balor debut.
So from the original debut of the Firefly Funhouse through the Finn Balor debut, nothing changes.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
I'm on board.
The next pay-per-view was Night of Champions. We did not get the Fiend on that show.
Okay.
In my thing, after that, we get promos and Funhouse, or after SummerSlam, in my thing. We get promos, funhouse segments talking about darkness, how it's all in,
Mm.
really lean into trauma. Like talk about mental scars cannot be healed, stuff like that. Silly segments where the pig or whatever is scared of the dark, and they like really bring it back into like the kiddie aspect of it, but talk
Yeah.
the real thing of like darkness and how terrifying it is. Um, the Fiend is not going to go straight for a title. His next target is actually the Light, specifically Mustafa Ali. Ali
Interesting. I like it.
wins a match on SmackDown. Does his like light pose with his hand because he had that. Then Bray, normal Bray, Uncle Phil or Uncle Phil,
Uncle Phil, Mr. Rogers
Mr.
Bray, you mean?
Rogers Bray pops up on the screen, says some stuff about how impressive Ali is, really like how he really glows and radiates with the audience and all this other stuff. And then he stops dead and he just goes, "I hate the light. The light never found me. Revel in
Mm.
what you are, a fraud." And then he cuts away. Ali is all alone in the ring, but he's very clearly a marked man. Ali continues to be confronted by Happy Bray, never the Fiend.
Mm.
The Fiend, special. We gotta save him for special matches,
Yes.
not Mustafa Ali at Night of Champions. uh, Night of Champions, Ali goes up against regular Bray. Bray wins, putting down Ali with the mandible claw. And then, turning off the light pretty much.
Yeah.
After he wins, he celebrates in a Joyish way, like he's all happy go lucky, all this other
The way
stuff.
he celebrated when he beat Miz.
Yes, and then the
Yeah.
lights shut off, and we get that like Bray Wyatt jump scare thing, like the little whatever.
Yeah. I know exactly what you
um,
mean.
Yeah, we get that. At Night of Champions, so the same night, Randy Orton loses to Kofi. That is a match that actually took place there for the,
That
the
sure
WWE
did.
title.
Yeah.
Um, he loses. We'll keep that all the same. Whatever. Same feud and everything. Um, the whatever show, I think he's on SmackDown. Whatever. By the way, Bray Wyatt's not constricted to the Raw versus SmackDown bullshit. He does what he wants.
Agreed. That's great.
Because it's cool. Orton cuts a promo saying, he's basically trying to reason with himself on why he lost, how he should have gold because he's a Hall of Famer and one of the best to ever do it, yada yada. He gets more and more worked up. You know how angry Orton can make himself. We've all seen it, the little stupid bullshit that he does. He talks about, all the things he's done, how dangerous he is, how he needs to tap back into that so he can win the world title again. And then he's interrupted by Bray. Bray's giddy to hear that Randy wants to bring out his madness again, but he's cautious. He knows exactly what Randy can do, and he can't let him do that again because the last time he didn't end up well for Bray.
He burned down Sister Abigail's house.
He took his title.
That too.
The person that tricked Bray into believing he was family, the biggest scar in Wyatt's mind was caused by Orton. And because of that, he had to stop Orton. The lights go off. When they come back on, the Fiend is standing behind Randy. They come face to face. Fiend's not moving. Orton hits him with an RKO. Fiend gets right back up. Orton hits another. Fiend gets right back up. Orton is fucking terrified at this point. He's like, I just hit this dude with the most dangerous move in wrestling, or whatever, the most dangerous 3 letters in wrestling, and he just got right back up. He's like, shows it on his face how terrified he is. He knows his demons are finally coming for him. He leaves. We get a fun house where Bray, in a childish kiddie show way, explains the history between him and Orton. Says Orton is a bad man, and we got a boo from like the little kids booing.
Boo!
Yeah, we can't let him continue this way. Bray's too weak to beat Randy, and he acknowledges that. The Mr. Rogers Bray acknowledges he's too weak to beat Randy, but he isn't. He is stronger than anything. He will destroy Randy once and for all. Revel in what you are, Randy. Your reckoning approaches. They're going to have a match at Hell in a Cell. That's what's booked after this. right before the pay-per-view, after Orton is confronted again by the Fiend, this time backstage, he runs away and drives from the building. I don't know who the hell the general manager is at this point for Raw or SmackDown, whoever the hell these shows are.
Oh God, I do not remember either.
No idea. Whatever the case, the stipulation is now that this is a Hell in a Cell match so that Randy cannot run away. But
I
it's
love
very important to know this is not a title match.
I love the idea of the general manager being like, "Hey, there's like a demonic entity. Randy, you can't run from that. You gotta have a Hell in a Cell match."
You got to suspend disbelief. It's wrestling.
That's true.
Or so it's horror. At Hell in a Cell, Orton tries everything to destroy the Fiend, like putting him through tables, chair shots, fucking sledgehammers, everything. RKO City, punt kicks. The Fiend like just won't stay down. All that is just a scratch of what the Fiend is capable of. Eventually, he gets put down by Sister Abigail onto a chair, mandible claw. Orton is donezo. Another victim down. He is not at Crown Jewel. We are not sending Bray Wyatt to Crown Jewel. Get him as far away from that as humanly possible. At Survivor Series, regular Bray is a part of Team Raw. It's funny because he kind of just floats from both brands, but he just decides to choose Raw. We'll see why soon. He is taken out by everyone. Team SmackDown, Team NXT, and his own Team Raw members.
They all jump him?
Just all jump him, bury him. He gets counted out, and then just like is not seen again. We don't know how he leaves.
I like
the
that.
arena.
Yeah.
Regular Bray has a Funhouse segment at Starrcade, but he doesn't actually wrestle because we don't need that. We got to save Bray. He can't just be on every pay-per-view. He does the feud with Miz. Just doesn't like Miz. Just whatever. It was just regular Bray against Miz.
Hates his vibe.
It was TLC. Yeah, they have the same match just earlier on in the card. We'll see why in a second here, because later on in the show, Baron Corbin beats Roman Reigns. It's the same exact match. I don't know if this was the dog food thing or if that was like a random SmackDown where they did that.
No, that was the dog food, I think.
Whatever the case may be, Roman is handcuffed to the post like he was, except we don't get the dog food thing. I do think the handcuffing to the post, the way he was just kind of hanging there, I think that's kind of cool. So I wanted to keep that, but not the dog food thing because that's stupid.
Because that was bad.
Yeah, so that happens. Corbin and all of them leave, and then Bray pops out. Revel in what you are, Roman. I didn't forget anyone but you. In the build towards the Rumble, Roman is constantly beating down Bray. Normal Bray. It's almost as if something in him has snapped. He's relentless with his assaults, but he's still the babyface. Bray has to call in the cavalry, and because of that, he has to unleash the Fiend. At the Rumble, we get Fiend versus Roman. The Fiend wins. Roman lays a brutal beating on him during the match, but it doesn't matter. Fiend wins mandible claw. The rest of the Rumble happens the same, except for one difference. Seth still is the Universal Champion at this point. He has not lost until the Royal Rumble when he loses to Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
I don't care about the brand bullshit. Neither did they.
Make it work.
Neither did they. This is my thing that no one's going to like, but I don't care. At Super Showdown, Bryan beats Goldberg. Don't care.
I think that's awesome. I think that's fantastic. That's
people
fantastic.
Are going to be upset about that, about hearing that.
Who are people? Our 50-year-old uncles? I don't care.
Exactly. Drew wins the Rumble like he did. The entire Rumble match is the exact same. Brock's in it, all that stuff. He has a beeline towards Brock. It's going to be Brock and Drew at the Rumble or at WrestleMania. The Elimination Chamber. Did you know there was an Elimination Chamber for the SmackDown Tag Team titles at that pay-per-view?
I did.
Not anymore. We get a number one contenders chamber match for Bryan. Bray Wyatt, normal Bray, is in the match. At one point or so in this match, I've decided to do it, to rebook that as well. It's Bray, normal Bray, Strowman, Aleister Black, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and Cesaro.
Okay.
Bray starts the match with Strowman, and he is getting absolutely obliterated, but isn't eliminated. And then he gets driven through the main cell, like the main chamber door.
Okay.
and he gets carted out because they're like, "Oh God, he's fucking dead."
Oh no, he's
Very
dead.
important to note, he's not eliminated.
Okay.
Everyone comes out, but still no eliminations. Like they all come out of their pods, but no one's eliminated.
Okay.
Strowman goes on a little bit of a rampage, like he does sometimes, where he just like runs around, he throws
Yeah.
people, slams stuff, does Braun Strowman things. That's when the lights go out and we hear a loud screech.
Hmm.
The Fiend is here. Strowman's scared shitless. He gets hit by Sister Abigail and is eliminated. Aleister Black hits the Black Mass on AJ to eliminate him. They had a match on that show. It was okay, but
It was all
I
right.
feel like this is cooler. Also, big spot for him. He just eliminated AJ Styles kind of clean. Seth hits a curb stomp on Cesaro to eliminate him because Seth still has to get a shit in. Right after that, he walks right into a mandible claw and he gets eliminated. So the last two people in the chamber are Aleister Black and The Fiend.
Hmm.
They're having a cool stare down, like literally just staring at each other face to face. And then Aleister Black hits a Black Mass, just decides, fuck it, home run swing.
Yeah. Go for it.
It's a very close near fall.
Okay.
Very close. 2.9. The Fiend kicks out though. The Fiend recovers eventually, hits a Sister Abigail, mandible claw. We're gonna get Bray versus Bryan at WrestleMania. In the build, bring the history between them, all of it.
There's a note for question from the audience.
Go ahead.
Does that mean the Firefly Funhouse match does not exist?
We'll get to that at some point down the line. We have like 5 years or 4 years after this. We can put that down eventually.
Okay. Just checking. Just checking.
It'll happen eventually.
Yep. That's fine.
Just not in this rebooking.
Okay.
During the time period of this rebooking, I should say.
Yes.
Lean into it, like the full history from the Yes Movement to now. I don't know if they weren't in Nexus together, but like I don't know, just like figure it out.
No, but like even Bryan turning on the Wyatt family.
Yeah, like that's really important. Like do a Funhouse segment on that, the whole history. I like Funhouse segments where I like the idea of him like recanting his history with people and making himself seem like the good guy when he wasn't. Run back the exact same strap match from the Royal Rumble that they had.
Yeah, it rules.
I love that match.
It ruled.
Like it was really good. We don't need the Fiend, just normal Bray like it was in that match, I think. I believe. I don't remember if it's Fiend or Bray.
I'm looking it up.
But I think it was just normal Bray. Same strap match. It was a really good match. Honestly, it's one of the best matches Bray Wyatt had.
It was the Fiend.
It was the Fiend?
Yeah.
All right, so I guess the Fiend's popping up. It's one of the best matches that Bray Wyatt had as a performer. So I just run back the exact same way, except Bryan doesn't win. It's Bray. Bray is the Universal Champion coming out of WrestleMania. It's not the main event. The main event should have been Drew. And I mean, that's not that it matters. It was 36. It was in a warehouse.
It's a split. Yeah, we can't rebook COVID.
Yeah, so unfortunately, at Money in the Bank, do normal Bray versus Strowman. Bray wins. Backlash, I just like threw something out there because it was that stupid. Like I just kind of had to reposition things so that we wouldn't get double dip into stupid Strowman feud territory. So I just had him face Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy versus Bray.
Yeah.
Bray wins. At Extreme Rules, do Bray, and I think you'll like this one. Bray versus the 3 members of the New Day. Play up how scared they are of him. Like, especially
Woods was scared of him,
getting like, all this other stuff. Have it be like a 3-on-1 type deal where if the New Day wins, they share the title, something like that. Like
Our
they're
friendship,
all
baby.
The Universal Champion. The Fiend, it's the Fiend, obviously, that gets this match because it's Extreme Rules, and that one was called like the Horror Show.
Yeah, whatever. The Horror Show at Extreme Rules. Yeah,
they had to. We got to get the Fiend on that card, unfortunately. So yeah, the 3 members of the New Day get put down, and it rips a piece of their sanity with from them. So a little. Who knows where that leads? We'll see in the New Day rebooking that we do in 30 years.
That's right.
At SummerSlam, it's Fiend versus Rollins. I don't know how we get here, but we do. Make it go down like the Strowman match did, where it's a Falls Count Anywhere match. The Fiend wins, and then we get the Roman Reigns return.
Okay.
The exact same way. spears, take him down, all that. Payback, which was like a week later, same thing, triple threat match, except instead of Strowman and Bray, it's Bray and Rollins, with Roman in there as well. We get Roman showing up late.
Yeah.
Same thing, spear to Bray, spear to Rollins. We get the tribal chief era starting that night. That I especially needed that to stay in there because I think that the tribal chief is the most important thing WWE has done in like 20 years.
Yeah.
So keep that in there. Bray moves exclusively to Raw, vows never to allow him to appear again, him being the Fiend.
Yeah.
We start like a full circle story again where normal Bray wants to go at it alone because he's scared of the fact that he needs to the Fiend to win now that he's lost. He loses key matches to people that he should be losing to. I'm talking like Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, people who
Okay.
are at, world championship, main event
Upper
level.
carders. Yeah.
Yeah, like literally the title scene on Raw at that point.
Yeah.
Eventually the Fiend returns, but not how we remember him. He's back as Uncle Howdy, a worse version of the monster, a version Bray cannot control.
Okay.
And we go from there.
This is the first time on this where I am almost going to just fully concede because we have very similar things.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We are in agreement on some very core tenets of the Fiend's character, with one notable exception. So I don't have a full rebooking. I just have some core tenets I think that make sense for the Fiend. So I agree. Keep the vignettes. Keep all of the Firefly Funhouse. Keep the debut with Finn Balor. Honestly, I even liked when he took out Random Legends. I think taking out McFoley and stealing the Mandible Claw from him is nice. I think that Bray Wyatt had a vision for the Fiend that WWE did not know how to do and go over the top with in terms of exposure because they saw how popular he was, and popularity means money. Popularity means put the title on him and have that god-awful title design redone.
Oh my God, I don't want to talk about that.
So here's my thing.
It's like a cool collectible for like horror people, though, I will say.
There's no reason the Fiend wants a world title.
None.
There's absolutely no reason the Fiend needs a world title.
Zero.
And for that, he should never get a world title. The Rollins title thing doesn't happen. We can figure out another configuration to get the Roman Reigns return. All that's fine. There's no need for him to be world champion because how do you book an invulnerable monster to be world champion? You don't. You can't. It doesn't make sense.
I found a way around it.
The thing that I think I like most is the thing that we kind of lucked into by WWE's booking, which is this thing that people figured out that the Fiend reverts or changes people after he feuds with them.
Yeah.
Which I love because he debuted against Finn Balor and then Finn Balor went down to NXT and became the Prince, essentially, which was sweet. When he did the feud with Bryan, he cut his hair short and his beard short and he became kind of like Yes Movement Bryan or like No Bryan again. And we're like, oh, that's okay. That's great. Rollins started dressing more authority-esque again and kind of reverted.
He became the Messiah.
Exactly. So make this the explicit goal. When the Fiend chooses to feud with someone, it is to change them fundamentally. We should not see the Fiend for a couple months at a time. There's no need to have the Fiend always on the screen.
Yeah.
Have the Fiend debut against Balor, do the things, have him have the get to the Cena Firefly Funhouse match at some point. Absolutely. There are certain people he should always feud with. There should always be the Randy feud. That's a given. And have Randy go back to like psychotic Viper Randy after. That sounds awesome.
Have Randy fucking lose for once.
I also think that just because he feuds with you doesn't mean you have to become evil. It just means you have to change in some fundamental way. So make Braun Strowman feud with him and have him finally get a real level to his character. Braun Strowman has been just big guy pulls shit down for the whole time he's been in WWE. How can you play with that? How can you be like, why did you hide behind that black sheep mask? Oh, I'm actually like really scared. We get more in-depth knowledge about Braun Strowman's character.
Give him that power bomb.
Do give him that power bomb. Have him have a little mini feuder thing with Alexa Bliss that turns and like we can delve into why has Alexa Bliss been like mean to everyone she's ever been on the main roster with, right? Like, we can kind of use the Fiend to pull these things out of people. Instead of releasing Bray Wyatt, could you figure out a way to have him feud with Edge at some point, and he's the reason Edge kind of goes darker, and then that leads to the Judgment Day? That sounds like a cool time. I just think it makes no sense for the Fiend to be on TV every week. I think the Fiend should show up at major pay-per-views, Rumble, Mania, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. If you want him to, I think you could skip a Survivor Series or a Money in the Bank. That's fine.
I think he should just show up when the story calls for it.
I think there should be random Fiend appearances. They have a house show at Madison Square Garden. Fiend shows up, fucks somebody up, starts a new feud. I love the Mustafa Ali feud, by the way. I love that idea. The light versus the darkness, that's excellent. Trying to disrupt the power of positivity.
Also, it's his second match. Like, we're not going to throw him right in there with,
Which they did. They threw him right to Rollins. It didn't make any sense.
Also, Mustafa was the guy who created that weird group or whatever. Maybe it's because of Bray.
Retribution.
Maybe that's why.
He was the SmackDown hacker too. Remember that one? We'll rebook that one eventually. Now,
do we have to?
I don't want to, but we have to. I didn't really have like a whole thing. I just said like, these people he should feud with. This is how he should be treated. I don't know how to end the Fiend character. I think there is a way. I think the way you're saying like Bray loses in some way, and then it's like, I'm gonna try to like banish him essentially. Yeah. I think it could be Bray looking for someone strong enough to defeat the Fiend. You could decide who that is. Is it Brock Lesnar? Is it The Undertaker? Is it Roman Reigns as the tribal chief? Like,
is it Karrion Kross before he got ruined?
Don't do this to me. You could decide to give someone that ultimate rub of being the person who finally pins the Fiend and frees Bray Wyatt. If we treat the Fiend as this like spirit that lives within him, the spirit of vengeance, essentially, have him be free of that. Those are like
vengeance, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, so it'll be the Yeet Master.
That's right. These are the rules that we've kind of that have given for us, and I think we're in agreement. I think this is not that hard. I think WWE saw the reaction to the Fiend and was like, money, $sign.
Yeah.
Put the fucking title on him. Do everything. And I understand that. Money's great. However,
especially during the worst year they've had in forever. 2019 was god awful.
It was rough. It was rough. But I just think there are better ways to handle what is an intricate character. Like, there's so much, and fans, like true horror fans and true wrestling fans, love doing a little bit of work. Hey, we noticed this thing, and like you see it with the QR codes and like finding people in the background of all these shots as in the lead into the Wyatt 6. People love to kind of be in on the mystery. Oh, I found this thing. The QR code leads to this. I solved this cipher and it shows this. Do all that. That sounds awesome.
Do it.
I don't just don't blow your load immediately. Don't be like, oh my God, we landed in the Fiend and it's awesome, and we're just going to put everything on it.
Yeah. Like, I gave Bray Wyatt the title because it was Danielson. Like, the reason why he wanted the gold was not necessarily because he wanted to gold. He wanted He wanted Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. He could even just get rid of, like, he could just relinquish the title. Like, I don't actually want this.
I mean, I'll let him keep it, and then, Roman Reigns.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement. I'm willing to
created a monster.
I'm willing to give you the full tip of the cap on this one.
I think it's poetic that because of the Fiend, we get Tribal Chief Roman, which eventually means that we get Jacob Fatu. So, in my storyline,
I love that it's not
all of this,
not even super babyface Cody Rhodes. It's that we get Jacob Fatu.
No, I get Jacob Fatu. That's what matters most to me.
That is our rebooking of The Fiend and how we think he should have been treated in WWE. If you agree with us, disagree, put it in the comments below. If you have other things you would like us to rebook from wrestling history, whether that's the SmackDown Hacker, Retribution, other garbage things, Raw Underground, I don't know, pick stuff. Make us rebook it in the comments below. Make sure you hit like on the video, hit subscribe, follow us on social media at Crossbody of Work on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course, join us for our podcast wherever you get podcasts or here on YouTube every single week. We will be back soon to rebook more historic mistakes from wrestling history. We'll talk to you then.